So, pardon me, rookie mistakes. It's my first time ever doing this shit. Doing a live stream thing. But what's up, everybody? Your boy Oz is in the building, and I want to before we do anything, I just want to, before I post any links or blah blah blah, all that shit. I saw a couple people make some posts this evening, and that I 100% relate to, and whatever it is about the last week, 2 weeks, whatever, of July fucking suck. And I'm with you. I hear you, and I feel it. And just don't. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm here. We're here. Tang's here. And you know how we do. All love here. All love. We got you. Anytime you need us, we got you. But let me, if I was an actual professional, I'd already had this shit queued up, but I'm not a professional. I'm a rookie. Oh, goddamn you, YouTube. Yeah, I'll post a little linky link. Uno momento. And while I'm loading this, I'll just say, for those that this is a stupid month, a difficult month, hard month, whatever, shitty month, try, do your best. It's always easier said than done, but do your best to do the things, be in the places and around the peoples that do encourage you and make you happy. Like, what was it, last night? I think it was last night. I just started a stream. I literally freestyled for like 5 straight hours just to keep my brain busy and distracted. And I don't know if I've ever freestyled for that long, like simultaneously. Not simultaneously. You know what I mean? Like just straight 5 hours of freestyling. That was nuts. But I needed it. and it was the right thing to do. All right, Christians, the link is officially in the chat. I will pin it to the top. And tonight, well, let me say this. So there, we're rolling out at least one show that used to be on our normal schedule, and that's Aunt Kathy and Ashley are bringing back Vintage Explorer Wednesdays. That'll be an afternoon show for all the old folks. Aunt Kathy, rib. And there may be one more. No, we press Jen and I press pause. So we have that, and then Atheist Your Way. We have not forgotten. We're still working on that. Get that rock and rolling for people that are wanting to create, wanting to learn the whole YouTube thing and how do you stream, what do you do. So we're here to do that and support and push those people forward. It's about normalizing atheism. It's about turn the volume up, on the newer channels or younger channels, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So you have that. But as far as the OZone, so there's going to be like two versions of the OZone. So there will be, well, Heath and Queen, the three of us are going to be chatting. So, soon and very soon, we are. Fuck that shit. Yeah, so there will be the OZone like tonight. The OZone will, anytime you see the OZone, that's just, I'm opening it up. Some nights it may be just Christians. Other nights it may be just Muslims. Other nights it may be just atheists. And it may be a particular topic that I want to discuss. And then the OZone Live, anytime you see live, that's where I'm having conversations, like interviews, things like that. Not what's your story, but like interviews. Like Paul and I have one coming up next Wednesday on mental health, self-medicating, that sort of thing. So it's not to make it more convoluted and confusing, but there's the OZone Live. OZone Live just means that I'm just hanging out, chilling, and doing like an interview. The OZone is you have to step into my realm, and there's two fucking rules. Your philosophy is not evidence, and you got to turn your goddamn camera on. That's it. That's it. Christopher, if no if no theist, well, say theist, if no Christians show up, then depending on what you talk about, what you want to talk about, what you want to discuss. I have no problem bringing other people in if nobody shows up. And yes, actually, and actually, I'm thank you. I'm glad you brought that up because I just had this conversation also last night. Is yes, I know when I say that's a very like, well, what the fuck are you talking about, Oz? I don't know how to say it and be more specific without spelling the shit out. But what I mean by philosophy is not your evidence is uno momento. Is using because philosophy, as you hear it from the Christian apologist is P times Q divided by R plus B minus C to the 10th power of QRS TUV, therefore God. Nah, dog, that ain't flying here. Again, we need evidence. We need evidence. And I did a poll about a year ago on my Facebook page, and I tagged those that that I'm friends with, or have some type of working relationship with, that are more philosophically minded than I am, and I know I am not. And I proposed the question: Does philosophy, in and of itself, left alone, and when I say philosophy, I mean it as in how it's used as an argumentation, as evidence for a God. So that way I'm being specific or pacific, but left alone as it is on its own, in that context, does it answer questions? Does it provide solutions to a problem? Is it means to bring us to knowledge? And even the Christian folks that I tagged in it, that have more the philosophical approach in these conversations, said no, in and of itself, just being used as argumentation is not evidence. I was like, cool. So then I'm not out of line when I suggest that we need better evidence than just P plus R divided by Q M TOV QRS plus 12 to the 8th power in a 36-degree angle, because guess what? It's all about the 36 chambers. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. What? See what I did there? Don't get me started. I did 5 hours last night. I could do another 5 tonight. But yeah, so if any of y'all have any you want to show this shit out, throw it out there, and see if you if any of your Christian amigos want to jump on and have a conversation, we can. But it is going to be conversation. I don't do fucking debates. I'm not getting on here to have philosophical debates or punch each other in the mouth with big words back and forth, and stir our big word salads, and mentally masturbate together, and do theological circle jerks and all that. That's not what I'm here for. Christopher, I respect the hell out of that, but you're way out of my league, way out of my league. As soon as you said, well, really, as soon as you said, well, that's not true. I'm good with math because I enjoy business and creating and generating revenue and money and knowing how to count dollars. But then after that, I guess symbolic logic, I get it. But theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, Einstein's field equations, this is what that does. And then I'm just sitting there like, yabba dabba do, yo. Yabba dabba do. Oh, I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not saying. I'm just saying my brain is not wired. isn't necessarily wired that way. Jen will take that. I'm a very I'm a high school dropout, man. I'm very street savvy, street smart, common sense driven, brass tacks. But then after that, you lose me. You lose me. I'm lost in the sauce. Lost in the sauce. But if you guys would, if you don't mind, sharing the stream around on your socials. Holy shit. Now that you say that, I do. I don't remember all of the details, but now that you say that, I do. I remember the name, and I remember having a conversation. Other than that, my ADHD brain, after about 5 minutes, forgets any type of deep detail. But no, that's badass. Yeah. Let me make sure I do this correctly. Oxy and Ozzy. Leophilius, yes, I definitely said it. I don't know shit about it. Will never claim to know shit about it. But yes, I definitely said it. Yeah, like I said, I remember, now that you say the name, like I do remember the engagement. I just don't remember, I couldn't tell you topic or anything like that. I do remember the engagement, and against I think, and this is my fault. I'm not blaming anybody for this. Against popular opinion, especially over this last year now, I'm not nearly as big of an asshole as people think I am. And if I do go for the jugular, you probably earned it. You probably earned it, because I'm pretty chill until you deserve to get that smoke. Then you can get that smoke. We're flipping off Ox, because Ox always has an opinion on the hats I wear. Always. What up, Sadie? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. I'll get a few more minutes. Let's see if we even we just get one. I mean, one Christian to come hang out and talk. And we have one person just joined, but it says that's not recognizing their camera, and that's rule number 2 of Fight Club. I mean, the Ozone. Because I've seen too many of these channels get fucking what you call it, porn bombed or porn something, and their shit gets hit. That's a no for me, dog. All right, Christopher, give me 1 second here. I was getting ready to do something. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Christopher's backstage. I'm going to bring him on. So before I do that, I want to make sure I knock this out real quick, or else I will most definitely forget. So next, will probably be Thursday because of my work schedule. Thursday night, we will be viewing the last episode of the Netflix original documentary. It's disgusting. Keep, Sweet, Pray, and Obey. It's all around that Jeff's asshole and the FDLS cult bullshit. And yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. But those are the things we need to be talking about because that shit's still happening. Still happening. 2022. Shit's still happening. And then Jen and I next week have our next installment of Chopping It Up with Jena and Oz, and we're talking about fasting and praying, and you know how healthy or unhealthy that is. Even, and we're not talking about your spirit, man. We're not talking about your spirit, man. We're talking about physically, medically. Is this good for you? Especially when you start talking to some of these crazy motherfuckers who go like 40 days and they ain't eating shit and they're drinking like water and cayenne pepper and honey or some shit. And then Jenna's solo show, #NotLadylike, the topic when waiting on God becomes toxic, and just a little appetizer. She's got a new intro. It's a banger. It's a banger. You don't want to miss that. And then later in August, I can't believe we're in August already, or almost in August already. The third installment of Comfortable with the Uncomfortable. And that stream, we have a panel of 8. We're going to be talking about authenticity. And, you know, first of all, what does that mean? What does that look like to each of us? And how can we help each other be the most authentic, the most raw, the most real, versions of ourselves that we can possibly be? And then the last 2, I have dates. Dates discussed. I'm just waiting for confirmation. But also in August, we'll be having, as part of my show, the What's Your Story? We will be having Drew, the genetically modified skeptic, joining me for a round of What's Your Story? And then also Holy Kool-Aid will be, I'm not sure on that date yet, so 3, I guess. Holy Kool-Aid on Chopping It Up with Jen and I. And then John Loftus, the author of The Outsider's Test of Faith, will be joining me also in August on the Ozone Live. And we're going to talk about my favorite word in the world. Does anybody know what that is? Come on, Tang Gang. Faith is bullshit. Laid back. Laid back. All right. Well, without further ado, I don't want anybody falling asleep backstage, so we'll bring Christopher up. What's up, Christopher? How are you?
I believe I'm well. Thank you for having me on. You can hear me all right?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. So I'm the one that was kind of parroting on about, physics and mathematics. I don't claim to be an expert, even though I triple majored and graduated with the highest honors from UNC Chapel Hill. I had a full-ride scholarship.
Not an expert.
So I just I'm not claiming to be an expert because in truth, there aren't any on these subjects. They're so vast that you could spend multiple lifetimes studying a subset in any particular field, and you barely scratch the surface. And it's really cringy, especially mathematics and logic as subjects, because the tendency for there to be an illusion of a precision in thinking that doesn't actually exist seems to be a common phenomenon. And I mean, I'll treat that as conjecture, of course, but when I say conjecture, I mean that in the context like that a mathematician would mean that, like, for example, pi to the pi power. We don't yet have a proof, and I say proof in air quotes because even if we had proof, there's plenty of room for contention when you get into the weeds of foundational proving in mathematics. But we don't really know if pi to the pi power is actually an irrational number. We don't know if pi plus e is rational or irrational. There's no proof yet in a classical first order predicate Boolean system of logic to show that pi plus e is irrational or rational. Now, if I was a betting man, it's probably irrational, but we don't know. There could exist two integers pq, q non-zero, such that that quotient is equal to pi plus e, for all we know. Probably not, but it's funny because it demonstrates that it's such an innocuous statement on its surface, right? Pi plus e is not, it's not rational, but
it doesn't
we don't know.
To me. It does not.
Right.
Before we go further, because a few people in the chat had asked, what is your position or worldview? Are you a theist, atheist? Where do you stand?
I think most people would call me atheistic in that I neither consciously nor, as far as I'm aware, I don't know what it means to remark on the tendency of a person's subconscious mind, if existent, right? I don't even know what an I is if the thing exists, but I would say fundamentally, I don't know. But notice I can't even say that because not only am I implicitly making a claim about myself referentially and propositionally, right? But I feel like oftentimes we have words, but how often do we like deeply ruminate on what they mean? What is an I? Because very often you'll hear like, what logic is not is like when people have in English or any like non-formalized syntax, it's not a series of sentences that you have in sequence. That's not real logic. When people do that, that's how you can tell they've never formally studied propositional logic. They're not using like for all x and q such that q is an infinite dimensional function space. There exists a p such that p is a homeomorphic mapping between an x and q to some non-empty set. These are apples and oranges, and not all systems of logic are even discrete. There are systems of logic that are of arity n and truth value, and there are systems of logic such as in quantum mechanics where you talk about a truth interval, where it's not yes or no, it's not true or false, but not both. It's something different. And so when you see a lot of like this, therefore that.
If I can jump in there, this is where I get lost, because when you say it can't be this or that, it's something in maybe you can correct my verbiage on this, but just for conversation's sake, I'll say it's either wrong or it's right. But as soon as somebody says, well, it's neither wrong or it's right, it's somewhere out here over there somewhere, and we don't know if it's
I can do you one better. I can show you something. Do you mind if I do a screen share on Paint?
Sure.
I think I can show you better than I can give you an analogy to what I'm talking about.
Great. I'm more visual anyway, so do the damn thing.
Okay, so share screen. Let's see if I can open the Paint tab, windowed Paint. Let me know if you can see this. So can you see this Paint here?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, so Control Z. So I'm going to just use my finger to paint, so I apologize if it's a little sloppy. I'm going to start with the set of what you're familiar with, first order predicate classical logic. We're going to start with what's known as axiomatic set theory, and we're going to treat things as like in or out of the set, but we're going to do one thing and one thing only. That's kind of an addendum to what you're familiar with. We're going to relax the notion of set membership being binary. That is the notion that something is in or out of the set. We're going to relax that for a second. I'd ask you to bear with me because once you see where we're going, I think it will be very clarifying. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll be patient. If I get to the end where I'm like, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about, I'll tell you. So
okay, yeah, let me know if I'm wasting anyone's time. Then stop me there. Right? Okay, so we're gonna let S be a set. This is just a fancy symbol, so looks kind of like a dick, but it's it's a colon plus an equal sign. It's just saying define it such that, or let it be such that for all x in S. That's just a fancy way of saying every element in the set there exists one and only one, we'll call it interval of membership, epsilon sub x. We just have the sub to say that, forget the symbol. All I'm saying is for every element, suppose that there is what we call an interval of membership, and it's bounded, it belongs to the interval 0, 1 inclusive. There's a fancy way of saying on the subset of the real number line, take the 0 inclusive up to 1 inclusive, and that degree of membership ranges between there. And I'll start, now this is arbitrary, but I'm starting here so you can intuit this, the way we introduce just like the undergrads and stuff, as like a probability of membership, if you follow what I'm saying.
I don't. You've already lost me.
All right, so imagine this then.
Real quick, we have somebody else backstage, so I want to intro them in, then you keep going.
Okay, I got you.
What's up, grr?
Hey, I'm a Christian.
No, you're not. Get the fuck. All right,
Just kidding.
Welcome to the stream. But I don't want to break up Christopher's line of thought. So go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
So suppose that I'm going to maybe get out of the symbols. I don't want to lose people, and I'll try to use more verbiage maybe. All right. What I'm saying is this. Suppose that for every element in the set, there's a degree of membership between 0 and 1, a probability of membership, if you will. Okay. If that degree of membership is 0, it is not in the set. If it's 1, it is in the set, absolutely. And if it's anything in between, you can intuit that as a probability. Okay. Just, I promise you this is going somewhere. Okay. So
I'm trying to hang with you.
Now there are classical operations like negation, right? Where if X is in the set classically, the complement is probably the more familiar thing you're thinking of. Then the complement of the set does not have X in it, right? It's not in that. So what we are going to do is kind of show that this has all of that still in it, but more. What I mean by that, let me just make this white, and then there we go. Okay, what I mean by that is let's define S complement as follows: that epsilon sub X for all X in S is going to be 1 minus epsilon sub X for the epsilon sub X prime. What am I saying here? I'm saying that to determine the new degree of membership, take 1 minus the old degree of membership. All right, 1 minus that. So forget this. Here's what I'm saying. If the old degree of membership was 1, it's in the set, right? So then 1 minus 1 is 0. It's not in the complement. If it's not in the original set classically, 1 minus 0 is 1. It is in the complement. So you haven't lost anything. Classical set theory is there. This is an expansion on that, and that's still there. You understand? But there's more here now. What I'm really trying to dig into a substantive answer to your inquiry, which is essentially how do we get past the notion of just yes and no, on and off? And I could tell you in English, but I really can't, because English speaks in a binary. There are. It's built on classical first order predicate Boolean logic. So what I'm trying to do is show you
the equation you put on there. You said we didn't lose anything.
That's right. This system of logic.
At the end of it, I see one has a 0 and one has a 1, so I feel like I lost something.
Well, what I'm trying to tell you is a system of logic like this. So variable quantification shouldn't be confused with discrete syntax. I think what you're confusing here is a discrete symbol syntax, right?
What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
Meaning the discreteness of the symbols I'm using shouldn't be conflated with like what the symbols are representing. Meaning just because you see symbols right now specifically, and these aren't the symbols I was using, right? These are just specific examples. These are instantiations of the larger set I was quantifying over. It's a fancy way of saying I was trying to simplify this for you. So this may not be, this is exactly what you're looking for, in other words. So this should look familiar, is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe this will help you. And this, well, it is like 100% true, but there's a little bit of self-deprecation here and kind of being tongue-in-cheek. But I did actually drop out of high school. In the first algebra class I ever went to, day 1, I sat down in the classroom and I saw numbers and now all of a sudden letters being used together. And I rose my hand as soon as the class started on the first day. I was like, what are we doing? what is this? I thought it was in math class.
Yeah,
And
I can relate.
and she was like, well, it is. This is algebra. And I was like, no, I didn't sign up for this. I wanted business math. The only thing I needed to know is how to count money.
Did you know that numbers are actually not what you think they are? I can tell by the way you speak about them. Numbers are actually very complex, and the notion of like value is not tied to the real number 1, for example. The value of 1 doesn't have to be 1. That's a way to cut up what's called the compact metric space. That is the real number line you're thinking of. You can make 5 minus 5 equal e. That's a different way to metrize that space. What you have, the absolute value function defined on that, like, puts them in a distance. And like, what I'm trying to tell you is the notion of value is not necessarily tied to the vector space of real numbers. What I'm trying to say is the symbols we have are sitting on top of so much below that what a number really is very complex and very different from what most people would intuit.
And I will being the best skeptic I can be right now. Like I always hate like saying I'll take your word for it, but I have no clue whether what you're saying is.
All right, I can go through verbiage because maybe symbols don't go that well. Okay, metrics defined on a metric space are, number 1, they have a few properties. They have the following properties. Number 1, they are non-negative. What does that mean? That for any 2xy in the space, in the metric space, dxy, that is the distance between x and y, is greater than or equal to 0 for all xy, right? First property. It's non-negative, the distance between them. Okay, what's the second property? dxx, the distance between anything in it itself, should be 0, right? dxx equals 0 for all x. Okay, what's the next one? Triangle inequality. dxy less than or equal to dx plus dy. That is the distance between x minus y less than or equal to the distance of x minus the distance of y. Or plus, sorry, plus. That's a plus. So
Bro,
what am I getting at?
I have no idea. I was just going to say, because I don't want to waste your time or our time, because I 100%, and I want to be respectful. I appreciate the way your brain operates, and that in itself is fascinating. But there's no way in like an hour and a half stream you're going to get my dumbass to catch on to any of this shit.
I was curious, what were you trying to convey? Like, what was the point? And I asked this as somebody who just tuned in like 5 minutes ago, so probably missed a lot.
When you actually study formal logic, what you can discover is there are many different systems of logic. It's not just the first order classical binary system of Boolean logic people are familiar with, and some systems even tap into continuous truth intervals like quantum mechanics. What I'm getting at is like a telltale sign that someone has no idea what they're really talking about in logic is if they operate from a perspective, a default, as if that's all there is. It belies an experience in academia, I would say. It would be like someone purporting to understand physics, but then speaking in a way that belies an understanding of like relativity or quantum mechanics. Making statements like for every effect there is a cause, when before even quantum mechanics, general and special relativity already took a sledgehammer and kind of blew that to smithereens. Causation is not fundamental in physics. And as it turns out, so too may not be space-time itself. It may not be fundamental, but emergent. But I can't really tell you that truly, because I'm saying it in English, and it's a binary. English rests on, not fundamentally, but practically, it rests on the skeleton of first order predicate Boolean logic.
Yeah, you're way out of my league. Way out of, and I mean that like I'm saying that complimentary. That you're way like I'm not on your level. I'm probably not going to be on that.
Well,
level.
I mean, forget about levels. Straight out levels. We can find common ground either way. What would you be comfortable talking about? It doesn't have to be any of these subjects, right? And I can meet the conversation in a way that's still accessible and productive. It doesn't have to be. We don't have to take a deep dive into everything. We can swim in the ocean, but tread water at the surface.
I only do shallow dives.
Say we all, perhaps, right? I mean,
I swim in the atheist kiddie pool. Okay, I do the shallow dives. Let's not get it twisted. It is what it is. Gur, you just jumped on. What's since none of the Christians want to jump in, what's something you would like to talk about?
Actually, it's funny because I was thinking, okay, I think I should probably go to bed. Then I thought, let me just see who's live, and I saw that TANG was live, and I said, well, I've always got to check out TANG before I go to bed because that's usually when you're streaming. And then I saw the link was posted, and I said, hell yes. So I've never been on your stream before, and I thought this is perfect because I've got nothing going on. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be going to sleep, or I would try to start crap on another channel, and I decided I'll just come to this channel and say hello. And I'm sorry, Christopher, that I missed what you were saying. Although, to be fair, it would probably gone way over my head. Mathematics is not a language that I speak at all. I can get behind certain like conceptual, logical language, but oddly enough, I find math to be the default of logic, like the fundamental building blocks of logic, but it's the one thing I suck at most than anything.
What do you want to talk about, bro? What do you want to talk about?
Was Jesus really a myth? There we go.
Oh, Jesus is a myth all day.
But no, I bring that up jokingly because I'm not a Jesus mythicist. But
well, no, if you bring it up, because that's one where I can go.
I knew that'd get you going, Oz.
I'll go toe to toe with anybody on that one. I follow the lack of evidence for Jesus according to historical text, the same way I follow the lack of evidence for a Yahweh or an Allah or whatever. There is a sheer lack of evidence for this character.
Do you think Dr. Seuss has a more like well-established evidence for the Cat in the Hat? I mean, there's at least a picture of that fucker. I mean, Jesus, we have a description, but I mean, of course, I'm being hyperbolic and facetious, but I've often been perplexed as to how the Bible is treated as evidence, not literally as evidence. You know, you don't want to insult the intelligence of theologians. I'm not trying to be like disingenuous, but what I've often found perplexing is if language doesn't have intrinsic meaning, then I'm not really sure how is it the Bible itself is then the nexus through which we derive that meaning. You know, because I feel like either way, if you're restricting the conversation to a forced order like predicate logic to have the discussion in, you know, if it is intrinsically meaningful, how are there different interpretations? And if it is not, you know, and furthermore, why could it be lost to time? Presumably, if we stopped reading and translating, right? If we waited 1,000 years and language changed, you know, why do we not know how to decipher hieroglyphics or, you know, not all hieroglyphics, but a subset of them.
What Christopher see that actually this time I actually understood what Christopher is saying, and now I will actually take what he said and for those, if anybody in the chat consider yourself you know, in the kiddie pool where I live, this is and you correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher, but this is what I've said all along, and I think you just said is if there is a Yahweh God and he sent this man-child, man-God thing to come and die.
Who is also himself.
Yeah, we won't even get into that. But if the Yahweh God was or I'm sorry, did or does exist, he would know how to communicate to me. And I will take it to the simplest form and say, there is a human that walks this planet and the reality that we all share and experience. And he wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages, which is one of the best books I've ever written about just the most basic human ways to communicate and show or demonstrate or you know, tell people how you love them, how you care about them, and also how you need to be shown love and communicate love to, you know, or empathy or sympathy, whatever. Why is it there's a human that can write one little book that transforms a lot of those conversations, but yet we have this God that sends this dude that dies and supposedly raises from the dead after 3 days that he can't get that shit right?
It's a substantive conjecture in question. That's not quite what I mean to communicate. And to be honest, if I were to have a discussion like that with someone, I usually don't. I just find it on a very like prima facie level, a waste of time.
It is irrelevant at the end of the day.
But
I gotta stop. Nope, I'm gonna stop.
When I said a waste of time, I didn't mean what you said. I meant like debating people about their beliefs.
Okay.
But I meant to conjecture about if language doesn't have intrinsic meaning, then the big question I would have is how practically and fundamentally reliable and useful would not just the Bible, but many things as written evidence. I guess it's weird. It's like when you pick up a calculus book, right? What are you appealing to? It's like there's information there, but it doesn't live in the symbols even, because if 100 years from now our language changes, and we don't have we'd probably have cryptography, but if we didn't have some way to like encode or decode that, how do we read it? And where's the meaning on those pages? And I'm not making a claim necessarily that it doesn't fundamentally exist, if applicable. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that I'm authentically asking maybe a broader question beyond the scope of even the Bible, of just, because it's there in other textbooks too. It's like, what are we really referring to when we make these citations? It seems we're really referring to like the meaning, but it's not. We're not claiming it's presumably tied to the print, right? And so, as this is relevant to the Bible, what I find like weird is how this particular book is often, the importance of it being the Bible is, I guess what I'm asking, as the Word of God. Because either way, if it does have intrinsic meaning, then how do we have differing interpretations, and how useful is that? And if it doesn't, right? I feel like we have potentially substantive questions to follow thereafter either way in a first order principle.
But that's my thing. First I'll say is even that language surrounding the Bible with that type of language and entertaining that book with that type of language is already a waste, because we're talking about people that wrote this shit down in a book 2,000 years ago, that you would run circles around them. I would run circles around these people as far as intelligence, ability to write, read, all of that. And that's saying something, Christopher. That's saying something. So there's that. And that's just if there is a deity or God, he's a piss poor communicator. And again, I'm just dealing in brass tacks and understanding from the reality,
bottom line
and perspective that I view it and that I've experienced it. And I do want to Gur, because I know it sounded like you're getting ready to.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was just gonna say.
I think I'm gonna have to get at you. Because the one thing that drives me nuts when I hear atheists say that the mythicist position or argument is a waste of time. I want to know why, if that's your position.
Well, I guess technically it's not a waste of time to the Christian, but to me, like I feel like there are better arguments to be had, like the problem of evil, and maybe a couple other issues. Like just the Bible itself is just extremely problematic, to put it mildly. Because for me, if I'm talking with a Christian and they say Jesus existed, I'm like, well, I do think that there probably more than likely was a historical Jesus. And if they say he died and rose again, I'm the type of guy that just says, okay, we'll grant that. Okay, how does that make anything he says true? And how does that make him the Son of God?
Yeah, so let's pause right there. Why would you ever concede that?
Personally, I love conceding as many arguments as I can just to see where the logic goes. And in most cases, it doesn't really go anywhere, which is the beauty of it.
So the issue I take with atheists or skeptics, whatever, concede, especially with Jesus, because now, especially in 2022, Jesus is the crux.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It's Paul said it. It's either there's a Christ crucified and a Christ resurrected, or we believe all this in vain, right? I don't understand why we're so flippant with the Jesus claim, but Yahweh, we're like, no, there's no Yahweh. There's no Yahweh.
I mean, to be fair,
Yahweh didn't die on the cross. Yahweh is the one that supposedly hung on the cross and then resurrected after 3 days. So I don't under that. And you know, I hate to throw the word logic, but that's not logical to me. Why are we arguing about Yahweh? Because Yahweh's here, but the Bible says, if you're a Bible believing Christian and you're reading that book, and that's where you draw your beliefs from, and how you steer your life, it says no one gets to the Father but through me, Jesus. So why are we worried about Yahweh when we haven't even conquered Jesus yet?
Well, from what I've gathered, listening to a bunch of Christian apologists and dealing with Christians online and in my personal life, is it seems like a lot of the time they just want to try to get you to say, hey, there is a God, and then work from that frame to Jesus. And me, I'm just like, no. Let's skip the smoke and mirrors. You want to use the morality, but at the end of the day, you want me to believe in Jesus. So let's just get to Jesus. That's not with every case. Every person is different, but that's when I say, okay, let's just assume Jesus existed. He died and rose again. Now let's talk about that.
Well, but think about and this is where I'm doing the best I can to you know, and not just with you, but
an
atheist that I speak to about this to try to help them at least see my perspective or kind of my the reason I do go so consistently after this argument, because if you strip Jesus away from them, if you take Jesus away, their doctrine, their theology, their religion, their worldview, everything collapses because it's no longer based on Yahweh. Paul changed everything. Their theology and everything is based on that character. So why are we conceding the character that their entire doctrine and theology is constructed upon?
Well, again, for me, it just depends on the person that I'm talking with, but I find just granting Jesus to be, to be real, and not the Son of God, but just he died and rose again. Personally, I find that to be exciting because it's like, okay, let's just say that's true. Okay, so your Jesus says to turn the other cheek and love your enemies, yet he's going to cast all of his enemies into a lake of fire. How do you make that? How do you make sense out of that? And then they just fumble over their words, and they can't really give an actual coherent response to that. And that's what I find to be entertaining.
And if you have Christians trying to entertain both arguments that he's like half divine and half human, and it's only
the whole Trinitarian stuff. Yeah,
it's like he's only part-time historical and only part-time divine. No, that's bullshit, because it's either we're demonstrating or showing or trying to prove that Jesus the Christ, the Emmanuel,
the literal Son of God, and maybe also God
in flesh, which we won't even get into the virgin birth, which is complete fucking dog shit bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
That's crazy, but just that alone. Why, if that is the crux of their faith, even if you're wanting to entertain yourself or a group or whatever, like I get it, but at the end of the day, I still think we have to challenge that and push back on it, because it is that same Jesus character in the Bible that still never condoned slavery, never condoned. Never
condemned slavery.
Condemned, thank you.
Yes.
Condemned slavery or misogyny.
Well, that's what's so fun about
it. But see, I get it. I get what you're saying. But is it what's more beneficial, that we get laughs and kicks and tickles out of it, or that we expose it? That way, other people aren't hurt by it.
Well,
I'm not sure.
When I do it, it's not necessarily.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when I grant these arguments, it's not for shits and giggles per se, although I do get a lot of that from it. but it's to show, hey, even if I grant what you're saying to be absolutely true, it still makes no sense. Now, when you tack along that Jesus did not die and rise again from the dead, it just makes it builds a bigger case against it. So even when I grant all their premises, it makes no sense. So then when we start really taking the hammer to the entire thing, it really falls apart easier. At least that's what I think. Because you're already granting their most precious premise that Jesus existed, died, and rose again. But when you can attack that while you grant it, and then you step away and you start tackling the other stuff like problem of evil and evolution, for that matter, then it, for me, it encompasses all of it. You're attacking it from all sides.
But in 2022, and for those that live in America, we know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. Jesus is the lens of fucking America. Look what just happened to women's, just basic women rights, right? Yeah. Why are we conceding this shit? Why do we give that up so easy, like an alley-oop? Like, yeah, here you can take it and you can have it, because we don't do that with Yahweh. We're like, no, we need that evidence.
Well, for me, that's it. The way I do it is just another tool of criticism. It's just saying, let's just say that you're right, and then look, even when we say that you're right, we can still show so many flaws within that system. Even if I'm wrong and you're correct, there's still so many flaws. It's just another tool of criticism, is the way I see it.
You know, something strange but also interesting, and I would like to posit that I conjecture that I swim in the nebulous sea, and I attempt to find sufficiently steady stones to stand on in my search for meaning, purpose, and substance in the nebulous river of information I sift through. But be that as it may, so I'd like to preface this with a concession that I'm making conjectures. But these conjectures are born of scientific and mathematical rigor. They're not the kind of conjectures that I think most people would consider as such, but I'm still going to make that presuppositional claim in a first-order classical Boolean system of logic. So, but what I would conjecture is, if we're talking about human behaviors and specifically language, and as that relates to religion, people who study recently with systems of differential equations, language as it changes via a pseudo-virological model. So there's an incubation period, there's a periodicity of transmission based on interaction, etc. There's so some of the variables are different, but the phenomenon is very interesting and similar. You can model it as a pseudo-virological model. What you often find is interesting is to really kill off a virus, and so too ideas and concepts and language, and by implication perhaps organized religion, is actually a succession of discussion about it. There's a reason that languages die, and that we need archaeologists to try to piece them back together, and concepts die. We're on an entropic tide, macroscopically speaking, not on a quantum scale, but macroscopically. Apart from time crystals, the law of thermodynamics, first, second, specifically, imply that there is a tendency towards, I don't want to say disorder, because people interpret that incorrectly. From a physics perspective, we mean something very different from that. But there's a tendency towards disorder. And what I'm trying to say very succinctly and very simply, but in a disingenuous sense, because it's not the totality of what I wish to say, and it's not technically correct, but it is that sometimes it's not to say no to something, to change the opinion of the populace, but to shift what we discuss and pose opportunity costs in that discussion across time that slowly fades out and kills concepts by implication. And I think that organized religion, it's an asymmetric relationship, very much like life itself on a macroscopic, simplistic eyeball perspective. You need energy to continue to live, but that's not true to die. And so there's an inherent asymmetry. Your very existence, if applicable, is on trial. And in the same sense, I claim that religion has a similar uphill battle against an entropic tide that does not favor its long-term sustenance.
And well, I don't want to lose this thought. Give me 1 second. So I'll pull this comment up. So I love Gur's approach. Meeting people where they are can help the conversation. I
appreciate it. Yeah.
And I get the sentiment there, and I'm not against that. I'm not anti meeting people where they're at.
Right. Yeah. No.
In this conversation, in this conversation, I'm talking about when I talk to atheists, not Christians. Because when I talk to Christians, it is I'm still not going to concede, but it's going to be a more diplomatic approach. But when I'm talking to atheists / skeptics, I'm asking you, and I'm also to the point, I'm demanding the same skeptic card that you play, that you put on the table for Yahweh. I'm demanding that you do the same thing for Jesus, because they're both supernatural claims that have a severe lack of evidence to support the claim or the bad idea or the bad belief. So why are we conceding these things when we know, especially current day, we know and understand, we're seeing it lived out right now. Shit, there's states right now, Gur, and I know you already hit this. I know I'm not learning you nothing. There's states in America right now that actually are putting shit or trying to put shit in place where Jena and I wouldn't be able to get married because I'm white and she's black.
Oh, yeah.
It's bullshit. And guess where it comes from? It comes from this extreme right Christian fundamentalist, whatever you want to call it. But that's why I'm losing as the days go by. I'm more and more losing the ability to be able to concede the bullshit. Well, because until you have evidence, it's all, as my grandma would say, it's all hogwash, Gur. It's all hogwash.
No, and Oz, I think you and I, like, we both agree that religion poisons everything, and I think you and I agree that religion is what is dragging down the U.S. and all around the country. Well, not just the country, but the freaking world. Religion is what's pulling society down and keeping it back. And you and I both criticize religion. It's just the only difference between us is we just criticize it in our own different way. Me, again, going back to Jesus, I am okay with granting that. As far as a historical Jesus and all that stuff, to me, it really doesn't matter. Me, I lean towards there's probably some historical Jesus, but that does not mean I believe that Jesus rose again from the dead and all that.
Let's do this exercise, because I love this. I do. I love this. Let's do this exercise. So you said you're willing to give that argument or concede, whatever word we want to use.
Yeah, grant. I can grant that Jesus existed, and I can even grant that he died and rose again. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so why? Why are you willing to do that?
Because the thing is, in my experience, when talking with Christians, they'll bring up, if they're honest, they'll bring up the Jesus card. If they're dishonest, they're hiding Jesus behind their back and they're giving me the cosmological argument or the contingency argument, and all these other theistic arguments that just boil down to deism, essentially. But the honest Christians will say, hey, no, Gur, Jesus existed. And when they do that, I think, oh, finally, someone who's not sneaking Jesus in to the argument. You're just coming out with it. And I will grant that. And then I'll say, okay, so Jesus existed, sure. Oh, and he died and rose again? Well, I don't believe that he rose again, but fine, I'll grant that.
Okay, so stop right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one quick thing, because there's a few comments in the chat. Yes, I know that non-believers, atheists, and skeptics can be racist too. Everybody settle down. That wasn't me just pointing at Christians are theists. I clearly understand that. But anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Why? But why? Again, because I'm especially like right now where we're at 2022, what we're experiencing, what we're watching. I'm struggling. Truly, I'm struggling to understand why we're going to concede any argument for Yahweh or Jesus or anything that has to do with that book, because all the fucked up shit it's doing. Where does that get us? Because all of this, like being diplomatic and being peaceful, and and I'm not trying to mock or be an asshole, but I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Meeting people where they're at, it's not getting us.
My AC just turned on. Hold on 1 second. Let me muffle this a little bit.
Oz, do you potentially see the substance of what I was trying to motivate? That sometimes counterintuitively, the way that you kill an idea is not discussing it. And that's not to abstain from discussing it, but rather to fill the discussion with something else by imposition of opportunity cost. This has across time been the most effective predictor of concepts and languages changing substantively and dynamically. There are plenty of thorough, vetted scientific studies. This is something that's easier to study because, like I said, you can model it virologically. That is, you can imagine that there's an incubation period, a transmission rate, etc. That is a retention rate based on memory and interactivity of individuals that, just like a virus, interact, they pass on something, they have a tendency, the incubation period, for it to stay in their memory. But all these factors, the equations are slightly different because obviously it's not literally a virus, but the dynamicism, if you will, is very similar. Phenomenologically, the predictions, the systems of differential equations long term have similar implications. You know, that if you're going to eradicate a virus, imposition of interactivity through the medium of transmission is often the best way. And if that's discussion of the topic, then, what I'm getting at is, this isn't the only, of course. So I'm not saying that this is neither necessary nor sufficient per se, but that this has statistically been one of the most effective mediums through which to do this. And I claim that there may be a bevy of other things just competing in daily life that are already creating this imposition of opportunity cost naturally. My claim is that across time, it may be that the entropic tide we're on is going to make it harder and harder to keep religion what it is and to organize it as such. And I'm not going to speak of religion literally in a unific sense. So many of the terms we use, I think we have an illusion of precision and substance in their understanding that may not exist. And I'm not even sure that the behaviors that we often attribute to beliefs and ideologies are tied to those beliefs and ideologies if existent and coherent. I don't know how many times people truly have substantive, coherent presuppositions locked into their mind in most behaviors. In fact, if you've ever studied something really rigorous, really difficult, what you learn is most people have no clue what real rigor is. They have no fucking clue. And what I'm trying to get at is, I think that what a lot of the neuroscience from the colleagues that I've discussed this with have come to conclude is that people are not they don't seem to operate from the tendency to have models based on a coherent set of presuppositions locked in like a puzzle piece that drives their behavior. To the contrary, they fucking act based on other parts of their brain, not the frontal cortex, and then retroactively, ad hoc justifications, if applicable, which are only for a subset of things people are even conscious of, may or may not be given, but may not be in any way explanatory or predictive of behavioral phenomena. So I don't even know how many of the behaviors we discuss.
Cristi, with all due respect, your average lay person, your average lay Christian walking around in America right now, it is that they have a bad idea or a bad belief, and typically for bad reasons. Right, it was a personal experience, or they believe it on faith, whatever the fuck their definition of faith is. That's my point. Is they adopt these bad ideas and these bad beliefs that are founded in this disgusting book that includes Jesus, that's supposed to be the savior of the world. And these bad ideas and these bad beliefs then also impact their behavior, their decision making, and how they vote. And that's why I'm pushing hard, so hard. I'm sorry, I'm pushing back more and more, and with more
vigor.
Vigor, thank you. Than even in the past, because it is, that is the crux of this bad idea and this bad belief that are literally, like, we look back at what happened in the White House, and we're like, literally there's hearings right now. There's hearings because these crazy fanatical Christian groups decided, well, Trump said, because Jesus, or whatever it is, because they're all Christian nationalist groups, that they go and march the White House, right? Now we just watched Roe v. Wade get overturned. Now they're taking same-sex marriage back up to the cutting block. Now they're talking about that my girlfriend and I, because we're an interracial couple, that they want to try to take our ability. If we want to get married, they're trying to take that away, right? In the name of that. So why are we conceding any of that? Because when we talk to them, they don't concede shit.
What I'm and I think those are substantive concerns. I just want to make it emphatically clear. I'm not saying you shouldn't engage, nor am I saying that we should make concessions per se. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes counterintuitively, explanatory and predictive parameters associated with human behavior can be counterintuitive. And what seems to be a set of driving or predictive parameters may be not so predictive or explanatory at all. And this is only something that one would encounter through, and I, to be emphatically clear, don't specialize in cognitive neuroscience or behavioral neuroscience. I only have encountered this through my interactions with and collaborations with some individuals in cognitive and behavioral neuroscience, that sometimes the predictive parameters are very counterintuitive, but when you find them, are extremely predictive. And the reasons for which people think they behave can sometimes be fucking completely different from how you predict they generally behave. So I want to make clear, I'm not speaking against even what you are saying. And I'm not trying to diminish the implications of what you're trying to motivate, nor am I trying to diminish the potential substance therein, but rather just introduce on the side, as it were, this as well. That fundamentally predicting behavior is extremely difficult for an individual, let alone for a set of individuals. Sometimes it's easy, right? I guess there are some things you can predict, like people are going to generally consume N number of kilocalories per day on average, sure. But I think when you get down to specificity, the specificity of like something as innocuous as will Oz click his mouse in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's where, and again, with all due respect, that's where these conversations, I throw them out the window. Because yes, whether I click my mouse or not, we can get into the granular, and we can we can dive into all of that. But we have how many fucking years now of a track record? We have statistics, we have numbers, we have data that we can track that show that Christians vote conservative, they vote Republican, and all of their ideas, all of their ideals, all of their beliefs all sway that way, right? And that's what they do. And right now they're on a mission, man. They're on a fucking mission.
What I'm trying to tell you is not that neither. What I'm trying to tell you is you can have those, but that doesn't necessarily give you predictive or explanatory, like scientific rigor. In other words, if you gave a neuroscientist this person is Christian, I don't.
Are you telling me that
I'm telling you that those could be factors, but they may not be sufficient for substantive predictive capability or explanatory capability. In other words, those could both be true, but I'm not sure that emphatically. I'm not saying it can't be, but I'm saying I'm not sure that implies that is like what is beneath what motivates the way.
And again, that's where I the only thing that I have to work with.
Because then we have to ask, for example, let me say, we have to ask, why are some people religiously oriented? in the first place? Why is there a tendency for some individuals to just fall into that mindset? And this is what I'm trying to say, that sometimes
they don't follow the see, and that's what we're going to get way off track here, because people don't just follow. I'm sorry, they don't just fall into it. They're convinced for one reason or another. It's a personal experience, and they think that they felt a God or they felt a Holy Spirit, or they're indoctrinated from the time they from the from the time
I'm not
they
sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
Well, and again, this is where respectfully we will probably agree to disagree, because that's what you can go that there's so many resources you can go to and check like even geographically.
So you're willing to assert that the vast majority of people you would claim as a positive claim in a simplified first order predicate Boolean system of logic, that if and when someone believes something, that it's formed from the basis of them having been convinced in a logical sense, and not perhaps derived from cognitive neuroscience precursory predictive parameters that may not even have anything to do with logic and their thinking at all.
That's where the brainwashing comes into play, in my opinion. If you're brought up into a family,
that's why I brought up indoctrination. That's
what right, yeah, like Oz says, Dr. Oz. I just sorry your name.
When we put on clothes, when we get dressed, do we think about, I'm going to protect my son from high energy photons, I'm going to insulate with heat, or do we just get dressed? What I'm getting at is, if you actually pay attention to the number of things you do behaviorally throughout the day, how many of those things do you actually think through from a position of presuppositional logic? I'm going to put on these shorts because the temperature outside is 37 degrees and these shorts will be adequate for dissipation of thermal energy at this index. I don't think most people behave that way.
But I don't here hold on. I don't know how we went from Jesus and Yahweh and the impact that has on our culture based on the bad ideas and bad beliefs to now how we do or don't put pants or shirts on.
What I'm trying to imply is that I think that when we're talking about behavior on a cultural scale, right? So a large set of individuals, I'm not sure why people behave the way they behave. And I'm not sure that religion and only religion is the primary predictive parameter that we may or may not want to orient ourselves towards. In fact, I'm really not sure. And I don't,
I think that's going to be where we have you and I have a fork in the road. I won't speak for her, but where we will have a fork in the road, because you're saying you just don't know and you're willing to accept that. And I'm saying, no, we have trends, we have statistics, we have all like years and years of history that suggest that this is how Christians behave in America. This is how they vote in America. And there's so much data. There's so many.
Oz, I don't think you're hearing what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell you that there may be something underneath that religiosity, neurochemically, biologically. What I'm trying to tell you is you're calling it something that may be covering as a skin what's beneath. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, if I may, Christopher, let's just say we lived in a society where everybody wore blue pants. And we'll just say it's a long line of tradition, whatever the reasoning for why we subconsciously built that type of tradition, we'll put that to the side. And then some other people decided, you know what, we're going to wear yellow pants or black pants. The ones that are raised to wear blue pants and that are taught the only way to live is blue pants. That's kind of how I see religion. Religion may not be the sole cause of a lot of atrocities and terrible behaviors committed by a lot of people, but there's definitely a correlation there. And I understand that correlation does not equal causation, but that does seem to be the trend. And so,
like I said, I mean, fundamentally, causation is not a fundamental phenomenon in physics. It may have some things that comport with that model macroscopically that we will call on a superficial level causation. But but of course, most scientists will happily say causation because they never get into like the deep mathematics and physics. So, I put causation in air quotes, and I want to make clear, I mean, I'm not saying hard stop that there's not substance to what you or Oz are conjecturing about it. No point do I believe I said that. I'm just pointing out I claim that we are in the ocean and that there are an sundry of parameters, that this is extremely complex. And I think it would be disingenuous to imply that religion and only religion is a primary predictive parameter of human behavior.
Oh, no. And I didn't imply that either. I'm not saying religion is the only.
Which is why I was speaking for myself when I said I believe that this is a relevant set of contingencies to also introduce into the conversation. I'm not saying you said that, just to be emphatically clear. I'm saying that that's why I thought it would be disingenuous for me not to insert that into the conversation as something to be out there as well, that there are so many other predictive parameters pertaining to human behaviors
that's fair.
that I don't fundamentally know. And I'm just trying to motivate questions in the discourse.
You just cleared up 10 minutes of conversation just with that. Because now I get it. That's fair. That's fair. I can knock that one off. But the real quick, there was a comment made in the chat, and I'm gonna light my cigarette before I even read this.
I'll hit my vape.
Because this one's gonna hit a certain way.
Oh boy.
And yes, I'm smoking on camera. Some societies need religion, though. Imagine how much worst gang bangers in Chicago, DC, and Philly would be if they didn't believe in a magical being that judges them after death. This is all I'm going to say, and we're going to keep moving. We're not even going to concentrate on this. This is pathetic. And if this is somebody's sock account, and I know you, I'm sorry, I still got to call it out because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I'm not super familiar with that. I've seen the name once or twice in the chat, but that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
That's straight bullshit. You might as well have said, because to me the whole gangbangers thing was just a slight sidestep to saying, imagine how much worse the thugs in Chicago did. That's a sidestep.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's a sidestep. So you're borderline. You did a sidestep, but you're borderline. You're borderline. That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. That's some racist fucking propaganda that I won't even go back into the right and left again. But anyway, Jesus is a myth.
Wrap that up in a bow.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But yeah, basically, my summation is everybody has a particular way they like to engage with believers, and I think there's valid ways and many different approaches. It's just the one that I like is just to grant, not concede, because concede is like to admit fault, but grant is just hypothetically. That's basically it as far as my approach goes.
Right. So I hear you, and again I hear you like loud and clear. I get it. I understand what you're saying. But why? Knowing what's on the line right now, and our culture, our society, and the impact that those bad ideas and those bad beliefs do have on our culture.
I agree. I agree. Like Christianity has been a, be it psychological or cultural, whatever the case may be, I just label it as religion, has had a terrible impact on society, especially now. Well, it's been even worse if you go back in time, but right now it's driving us back into old times. But again, it's not that I agree with them. It's just I'm trying to grant them their arguments, some of their arguments, not all, and then still show how even if what they're saying is true, it still makes no fucking sense, even when I grant their premises. That's it.
But that's what I'm trying to drill down to. Why are you even giving them an inch in that argument, knowing what's on the line right now?
It's because I know what's on the line right now. It's because I know the poisonous impact.
So talk me through that, because I do not, my brain does
okay, let's just say I'm going to take an analogy here. Let's just say somebody comes up to me and says, hey, the moon is made of cheese, and we'll just say that they vote according to that, right? I'm just going to say, okay, let's just say that it is made of cheese. And I always say for the sake of argument, meaning I don't actually believe it, but for the sake of discussion, let's just entertain this thought that the moon is made of cheese. Okay, how does the cheese not melt when the sun hits it? How does the moon stay together when cheese is not as dense as rocks and whatever the moon is made out of? So, because even if I grant that it's true, for the sake of argument, completely hypothetical, it still shows how it's so freaking silly. I don't even have to get into the sciences of it all. Don't have to go to NASA. It's that's just the way I see it.
Okay.
You know, I've educated a lot of people in introductory science classes, you know, because right now I'm taking a gap year and I teach as a math and science instructor, and I encounter individuals at the low-level science classes who are just starting, you know, and or math, and some of them come in with very interesting belief systems. And a lot of the students, surprisingly, at least in my experience, have radically changed their opinions. But that's often been a slow progress of like accumulated information across time. But also, I guess, I'm not really sure how to reliably and predictably change behaviors or belief systems in individuals. And I'm also not even sure that good solutions to problems sometimes require the participation or the awareness of the people that we wish to benefit from them sometimes. In fact, most good solutions do not. For example, most people do not understand electrodynamics, and thank God, but they can still turn on the fucking lights. Most people do not know anything about neuroanatomy, but they can still have a brain surgeon take care of them. By and large, many solutions sometimes benefit people and are efficient in benefiting people by not requiring people to directly participate. But of course, this is problematic because you get into a myriad of quandaries, like, for example, if and when those things are potential impositions on what some people define as liberties or rights, etc., right? Or if we're talking about ethics and morality, and from a consequentialist or a deontological perspective, if you're limiting it to a first order classical system of logic in the conversation. But I don't claim to fundamentally know really anything, including the statement I just made, which is kind of a problem in its assertion. It's another thing you learn about logic fundamentally is when you study logic, there's some, for any, like in a discrete system of logic, for any system of logic, there exists at least one boundary proposition in that system, which is neither provable nor disprovable by that system. Take Euclid's Euclidean flat space geometry. The fifth postulate, which is that if you have three lines, and the interior angle sum is less than pi, then they're going to intersect. Seems fucking obvious, right? This interior angle here, right? If it's less than pi, those fuckers are going to intersect eventually, if it's not an affine infinite projective geometry. And turns out Gauss showed that you can neither prove or disprove that with the other axioms of Euclid's. In that system of logic, that is the boundary presupposition. You can neither prove or disprove that with the other axioms of Euclid's postulates. But I guess what I'm getting at is, so you'll find sometimes the discreteness and the logic itself gets in the way of actual discourse and exploration of topics.
And I'll say something. We have a question in the chat. I as much as I and again
it's all right, Oz. I'm not going to take offense. It's all right.
No. What I was saying, I'm blown away when I talk to or listen to people like you talk, because I'm like, I don't know where you store all of it. I don't even know
you
where
are smart as hell.
Like, where do you store the shit? Is there a library in your brain? You know, because I'm like, how the fuck do you remember all this shit, right? But and then I lose track of the conversation because I'm just absolutely amazed that you remember all this shit. Which is, again, I'm being complimentary because
yeah.
way I'm gonna remember all of that. But we did have a question in the chat, and maybe this is more geared to my simple mind. Oh nope, it's for Gur. Question for Gur: if statistically you could be shown more people are impacted in a positive way by mythicism, by the mythicism position, would you take it up?
That is actually a really good question.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that I would hold that position if I'm being intellectually honest with myself, but I definitely wouldn't use it. Like I would go with whatever position causes the most positive impact on society. In this case, which would be deconversion or turning away from religion, be it Christianity or anything else. But I will say this: even if every God believer, if every theist on the planet did not get involved in politics and they were causing no negative impact on society, I would not have a problem with that. But I'd still be curious to know, why do you believe in God? Even though they're not impacting society, my curious mind would still be ticking like, okay, I'm glad that you don't force your religion onto people like me or your neighbors. But out of curiosity, why do you think this? But to answer the question, that was kind of a sidebar. To answer the question, I would go the mysticism route, even though I would not hold to it. I just wouldn't talk about it. I would, if I have to prop it up in order to cause a more productive society, I would probably go that route. I just don't know if I would necessarily intellectually hold to it.
Sorry, it's an interesting question. That's
an
interesting question and a great response. It reminds me of there's a subset in Boolean logic known as fictionalism, where they don't entertain whether or not presuppositions or concepts. It's really a response to a subset of ethics, normative ethics, not like meta ethics, where they're talking about like nihilism and in association with nihilism, error theory, which is that ethics doesn't fundamentally exist. And some people went the route of fictionalism where they're like, who cares if it fundamentally exists? What about, certain values we may have or things we may want, and if it's orientable in that fashion, would we not necessarily accept it as true, but adhere to it independent of that? And your response in some sense reminded me of that. I'm not sure, because ethics itself, when you study it and you introduce it with logic, it's a field that really needs to advance, because, like, for example, consequentialism is like concerned with this notion of cause effect in order, sequential order in events. But in relativity, if you have a fixed reference frame F, you can find another reference frame for most fixed reference frames of events in which those two things occur in simultaneity, questioning the necessity of the cause to the effect. In other words, even relativity kind of fucked it up the ass, the notion of cause and effect already. And that was one of the reasons there was a lot of pushback, against it. But I guess what I'm saying is another problem is just the way that the connectives for consequentialism and like subsets of that, like utilitarianism, etc., are defined or problematic. Like some sets of utilitarianism will say it's a teleological theory. So you define the good and the right separately often, where the right thing to do is the maximization of the good in some flavors, right, or the minimization of harm. There are various flavors, but either way, you run into trouble of, like, if we're talking about consequences in order, and we've already tabled the concerns in relativity, but we're looking at just how we logically connect them. You either connect them with conjunction in classical Boolean logic or disjunction, an or an and. And it's concerning either way, because if you say if the consequences matter, okay, and we look at this sequence of consequences, and let's say we're looking, is it bad, is it bad, is it bad? And we're just asking, is it bad? Well, if it's an and, if at least one of those is a yes, it is, now we have to worry, right? But then if we have to worry because only one of them was bad, then in what sense did all of them matter? But conversely, if it's a disjunction, if it's an or, then if at least one of them is bad, we may have to worry as well. And then it also introduced the question of, did all of them really matter if it took, in either case, no matter how we connected it, only one to make that difference? And that's just baked into the system of logic of how they connect, right? And so what I'm getting at is there's a lot of unexplored territory, and the field may very well be in its infancy.
Sorry, I got like 3 messages at once, but I have a question here, and I'll address this, and then you guys, if you want to make any comments, you can. EAE says, would you guys go to a nursing home and tell random elderly people Jesus is a myth and they're going to drift into nothingness soon? Here is my 100% candid, blatant answer to that. Would I just run into a nursing home shouting and proclaiming that Jesus is a myth and they're going to drift to nothingness? No, I would not do that.
No.
But if I walked into a nursing home and say, one of my family members or friends or whatever was there, and I was asked what, for whatever reason, what my position was or what I believed, I'm not going to be dishonest, and I'm not going to be deceptive or evade. I'm still going to share my position, but no, I'm not just going to run into a nursing home and be like, "Shigabahai, passing somebody by, the devil or God or somebody by, and Jesus is a myth, and you're going to nothing." No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, if there's no reason I would do that whatsoever. If I was at a nursing home, and I'll even say this, if I was in a nursing home and this old lady who was, days or weeks away from dying said, "Hey, would you come pray with me?" I would say, "Well, I'll come and bow my head with you. And, you can say yourself, because I'm okay. This is just, I'm only speaking for me and myself only, but I would okay if that gives some comfort. But if they asked me to pray, I'd be like, no, you go ahead." But that's just me.
I think the person means to motivate on a deeper level, perhaps, that there may be a relation between their belief in Jesus and substance comfort or contentedness, whatever, take your pick, whatever those things fundamentally are, I don't know. So my response wouldn't necessarily be in any way a substantive answer, but rather perhaps a prelude into a motivation of a series of questions. I would say, if we ask, let's say it was substance, meaning, or comfort, either of those things, if those were granted to or bequeathed via the person's belief in Jesus, then I would ask, well, is it dependent or independent of their belief? If it's independent of their belief, it doesn't seem that whether they believe in Jesus to have meaning, purpose, or comfort matters. If it is dependent, then it's not clear how it's Jesus and only Jesus that gives it, because if they have to believe to have it, then it's not enough that Jesus exists. They have to believe and he exists then. But if it's independent of their belief in him, and then it would be it doesn't matter for them to have those things, right? So either way, I claim that they're an interesting set of things to ruminate on therein.
Yeah.
Yeah, the in all seriousness, the only thing I know to say here is we're at an hour and 37, so we'll wrap it up here soon. But the one thing I do know still is that Jesus and Gur has publicly professed that he just likes to concede.
No, I don't concede. I grant. I grant
these fairy tale arguments. I'm playing.
Hypothetical scenarios. I grant, for the sake of argument, for the sake of continuing the discussion.
But God, bro, I see that I'm actually gonna start doing this once a week with the open room.
You should, except for Fridays. Don't do it on Friday.
Because I actually find that highly problematic. I find what do you want to say? Grant, concede, give, whatever. Especially where we're at right now, I find it so highly problematic, and we can talk about that later. But what I do want to ask before we wrap it up,
the show, not something else, right?
What's that?
Hopefully.
Very responsible, forward thinking there.
Yeah, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Tang Gang, bitches. But Gur, I heard now that I have you live here on the Tang channel,
it's been nice.
I heard that you actually think that you can defeat me in a freestyle rap battle. Would you like to try your?
No, my throat's going out. I can't do it tonight. No, I was just joking when I said that. I can't believe. I don't know who it was that spied on me, but yeah.
It's funny because everybody as soon as I get them live on a screen, like we're live, they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I didn't really say that shit, man."
Oh no, I totally did say it. I'll be dead honest with you. I did say it, but I was just joking. I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, "Oh, I'm telling Oz." I was like, tell him. I don't care. I didn't think they'd actually tell you.
It was actually Randolph. Randolph hit me up.
I should have known.
He was like, "Hey, Gur's talking shit. He said he'd smash you in a freestyle battle."
Oh, in a freestyle battle. I was confused for a second.
Freestyle.
I was like, Gur. I mean,
it'd be a freestyle.
You know, you may have to ask Jena first, but
Jena does be causing problems with some of the guests because she doesn't say anything to the guests, but then she says something and be like, "Hey, so and so said that
this bitch talking about you, bro."
Freestyle battle.
That's right. I don't even know how the hell that came up. Now that you mention it, I have no idea how that got brought up. But yeah, just one day, somehow I either thought of it or somebody had said something that made me think about it. I was like, I'd take out Oz in a freestyle any day.
Well, that's right.
Oz, I believe this is my first time talking with you. I mean, we've exchanged messages in the past, but it wasn't, never through a video medium such as this. I think apart from you, there are only a few others in the immediate, YouTube atheist community I'm aware of that I haven't heretofore spoken with via video otherwise. And it's been a pleasure meeting you. I do have a question. So what motivated you to do this? I mean, I'm not asking you to know all the sets of parameters, subconscious and conscious, etc. Right? I'm just asking on a superficial level, what motivated you to begin this journey of inquiry and debauchery?
Good question. I started to travel down the path of philosophy. No, I'm kidding. No,
the metaphysical properties of being.
I was.
I wouldn't find it pretentious if that's what you're worried about for you to say you dabble in philosophy. I think you are philosophically oriented. I think you have insights. Despite maybe your awareness and not having the tools to concretize them, I think you have insights and you have a philosophical orientation.
I love epistemology, so obviously a branch of philosophy. So there are certain parts or branches or whatever that I do have a decent grip on, but and it's in the big picture, I'm not the guy. But no, what I'm usually concerned with is the opposite. If I see someone overly confident, that's usually when I'm like, okay, this person's probably an idiot. So when you're explaining with trepidation, that's usually something that I take better. It's a better sign for me in general, because when you actually thoroughly study this shit, you realize it's extremely complicated. Yeah, it is that, and I am not that. I am not that. But what got me started? So I grew up. I was indoctrinated, and I say this with all seriousness, but also tongue in cheek. But it is like real talk. From literally the moment I came out of my mom's vagina, I was introduced into church.
When you say came, you mean birth, right? You didn't ejaculate from the vagina, straight out.
Right, yeah. Thank you for the clarity.
I mean, obviously, I don't think that can anatomically happen. I mean, maybe it can. I haven't studied the.
When I was birthed out of my mother's birth canal and out of her vagina, I. The next week, I was in church. My mom was a praise and worship pastor. Most of the people, especially on my mom's side of the family, are or have been ministers, pastors, praise and worship pastors. It was force fed. It was force fed. It wasn't even like, here's a golden spoon, eat it if you want. No, it's like, even if you don't want to eat it off the golden spoon, we're still going to shove it down your throat.
Same.
Right. And
religion.
Yeah, so it was very much an indoctrinational process. And when I got into my early to mid 30s, the real questions and the skepticism and the doubt started creeping in. And then there was without wasting a bunch of time, there was a sequence of events that happened, and that wrecked me. That I was like, I don't know why I believe this. I don't know why I believe this anymore. And the more I dug, the more I investigated, the more I asked questions. The Christians, the more questions that I had, the Christians had less answers. And the skeptics and the atheists had more probable, reliable methods to get to where to the position that I was at, is to the answer to the question that I was asking. And I'm like, all right, so what I've learned here pretty quickly is faith is not a reliable pathway, and I need something better than faith. And as soon as faith was stripped away from my vernacular, everything crumbled. Everything crumbled, because now that I don't even have a seat to sit in anymore. When it comes to this deeply held belief. And then once I went through the a bulk of my deconstruction process and tearing all that apart, I realized how traumatic my childhood was, because there was physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, like all of that, but it was all guised by religion. Like the staple scripture in my home growing up was "spare the rod, spoil the child." That was used to mask physical abuse. Like if I don't beat the shit out of you, if I don't grab this foreign object and punish you with this foreign object, that means you're going to be a spoiled fucking brat, right? So then, yeah, when all of a sudden all of these like religious, spiritual, faith, whatever you want to call it, lenses were being taken away, or they were falling away, I was like, God damn, man, this shit's fucked. And people actually use this to disguise their disgusting acts and their disgusting actions. And when I met Pasta Mike and Jeff and Steve, and I'm missing a few right now, but I was like, no, I want to. Those were the first atheists that I'd ever met to became friends with. That's why I named them. And I was like, these dudes are fucking cool as shit. All I've ever been told by my mom and dad and pastors and youth pastors is these atheists are fucking, they're Satan. They're Satan, and they're devil worshipers and blah, 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 blah. It was like, no, these people are cool as shit, and they're actually more honest than anybody I've ever been around. And once I realized what I went through, that there's other people going, like either current day right now, going through what I went through or something similar, or there's someone that will be going through that, in the next 6 months, year, whatever. I was like, no, I can't be quiet. I can't, because I know how important it was for me for people to, I knew how important it was for me to find people that I could connect with, relate with, and know that we shared this experience. And when I say experience, the trauma. Now I'm diagnosed PTSD simply from the traumatic abusive shit that happened in the guise of religion, right? So that was my very short yet long-winded, because I could go on for hours on it, version of it. But that's why I do what I do.
I see.
I love people. I love helping people. Yeah, I love people.
It seems like you've been on quite a journey then.
Yeah, I should. Well, Jena says it. My dad tells me all the time before, like, dementia or something sets in, I should probably like write a book, because that's just like the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, there's. Unfortunately, my life has been a goddamn roller coaster, so to speak. But I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful because I'm here. I'm happy. I'm living my best life, and yeah, I'm enjoying it nonetheless.
That's good.
I did see a remark a while back while I was listening to your story, which I found interesting, fascinating, and in the interest of optimization between brevity and depth, I won't ask you to like pontificate. We can probably discuss it maybe through Facebook or some other time. But I did see a remark about how everything was philosophy. You actually can't say that in a first order classical system of axiomatic set theory, which most people operate from, because of Russell's paradox. There's no set of all sets. If S is the set of everything that you try to put everything in, you can show that there exists a power set such that there's no onto function between those sets. Ergo, the power set always has at least one more element, no matter what the set S is. So you can't have a set of everything. So we can't even say in classical first order predicate logic that philosophy or anything can be put into one category like that, sadly. I wish it were so.
Can you dumb that down for me? I have no idea what you just said.
It's called Cantor's theorem. For any power set, a set is.
I don't know what any of that means. You got to like dumb it all the way down, bro. Dumb it all the way down for me.
You can't put everything into one category. Logic will actually prevent you from doing that. You can't put everything is this. You can't do that. So we can't say. I think I can also. I just thought like just a second ago of a way to really simplify. This is an analogy. It's not at all correct, but I think it can help you understand how discreteness can emerge from quantum phenomena. But it's completely an analogy, and you'd have to it's not going to be like before. You know how when you roll a dice or a die, when you roll a die and it's a quote unquote fair die, that the probability for any one side is 1 in n for all n sides, right? 1 in 6 chance for if it's a fair die. It's a terrible analogy because then you're assuming things about the system to make the die roll that way, but bear with me. The chance of rolling any side on that die is 1 in 6, right?
Okay.
And so at the level of a single die, you have invariable probability. Now let's take 2 die. If you want a 2, the only way to get that 2 is to roll snake eyes. Yes?
Yeah.
The only way to get 2, if you have 2 die, is to roll snake eyes.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Now, if you want a 4, though, you can get a 3 and a 1 or 2 2s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from the basis of invariability, we have variable probability falls out of it. But what does it stand on? It's not turtles all the way down.
Turtles? Now we're talking about turtles?
Well, it's an analogy, right? So what I'm trying to say is just so. Just so.
My brain hurts.
Just like from the basis of invariability fell out variability, right? Improbability. Because now the chance of getting 2 is not the same as the chance of getting 4, right? Because you can roll in the sample space of options, you can roll 2 2s or 1 and a 3, versus here, all you had was snake eyes, right? So the probability is not the same. So from the basis of invariable probability at the level of a single die, as soon as you group into more than one die, variability fell out of that. But it didn't stand fundamentally on variability all the way down. What I'm trying to say is just so, discreteness emerges from quantum mechanics, and it's not. It doesn't seem that it's fundamental. It is emergent in physics.
If I think I followed, I will say I don't believe. No, I don't believe that.
I'll put it very succinctly for you. Existence may not be fundamental but emergent.
Say it again.
Existence may not be fundamental but emergent. The very idea of an ontology may not be fundamental.
Okay, I think I can follow that.
It may be an emergent phenomenon.
Yeah, I can follow that. I was having a hard time with everything
There
else.
may be something deeper than the notion of existence, is what I'm trying to say. But I can't tell you that in English.
But I was about to say that would be axiomatic within itself, wouldn't it be?
No, because see, you're interpreting it through Boolean English logic, and I'm thinking in terms of a different system of logic, but I'm pushing it through English, which is Boolean. So I can't really tell you the message in English. You see what I'm saying?
So I have a brilliant idea.
It's like a glory hole that's too small. It's not. You can't fit it through.
Now I know what we're talking about. Now I know what we're talking about.
Speaking my language.
Now you're talking my language. But I have an idea, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, just being a complete smartass. Tomorrow night, I'm or at least I plan on taking another dose of the magic mushrooms. I would love to just listen to Christopher just talk. Like, I won't say a word.
You see, I like conversations, though. I really don't like to listen to myself talk.
Then don't have Gur, you come on. you two talk, and I'll just sit here and fucking listen and go out in the la la land, because I don't, my brain, the only hope of me ever truly grasping any of it, I have help from
I don't know, Oz. It may just be that this is a lot, and without certain building blocks, it's such a leap in imagination. It already is, even if like calculus and quantum, it already is difficult. So I don't know. It may not be over the horizon for you. It's too early to say. I can tell you that like 99% of people that I encounter, though, including in academia, it's a struggle. Okay, so if you're, I don't know. It's too soon to say, you know. But most people who eventually get there, it takes months, and that's for really smart people. It takes months to finally get this shit, you know. It's very rare that it's like, oh, I get it. Usually what happens is even the people who kind of get it, they think they get it, but usually they fucking don't. And when they take the exams, their scores are like usually a 0 in the exam. Like the classes that I took, I'll give you an idea. Half the class scored a 0. And you're in the weird situation where a 0 is not failing the test because of the curve. And like the tests are that damn hard, you know, like they scale it that way so the outliers are more obvious, you know. So like I was the top of the class in that quantum mechanics class, and I only got an 87, you know.
I would have killed and died for 87 in high school, but
I'm trying to say that like in the advanced classes, a score of 32 in an advanced class could be impressive. That's what I'm trying to say. That like
now that sounds like my kind of class. If 32 is passing, I'm in there like swimwear, bro. I'm in there like swimwear. But we did have another guest jump in, but I do want to ask this, and then I'll bring our guest in, Christopher. In the most simple way, whether it's yes or no or maybe or
yeah, I'd happily attend tomorrow. I don't teach until August, so I'm free.
I'll ask you the same question that I asked on my Facebook page. But this was like a year and a half ago, whatever it was. When I used the word philosophy in this context, I'm very specifically talking about the Christian apologetic methodology, so to speak, of how they try to use or even weaponize philosophy. In that context, does philosophy answer questions, solve problems, or cure anything?
It's difficult because honestly, when you really do serious philosophy, what even philosophy is, what existence fundamentally is, you quickly discover we're standing on stilts. And beneath some of the most innocuous phrases and concepts, there's really substance waiting to be gleaned. And that's what I meant earlier when I kind of conjectured about searching for steady stones to stand on as we grope for meaning and substance in a nebulous river of information, you know, of existence. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't fundamentally know. But because even what it means, the very simplistic notion of an ontology, that something does or does not comport, does or does not show, already, I hope, is starting to like tear through the seams if you're starting to realize that if there's not even necessarily a way things are at a quantum scale, then what does that mean?
I don't know.
That's where I'm at. I don't fundamentally know, to be honest. I'm not sure. And I believe that the people who are really thinking about this shit, they're not the people on Mount Stupid saying, let me tell you all about the answers. They're like, I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. But the one thing I do know, and if we're gonna do the I think therefore I am, but that's a whole nother thing, is like when I brush my teeth in the morning and in the evening, I don't need philosophy or science, like science, to actually show me. Like I can see it, I can experience. I know I'm brushing my goddamn motherfucking teeth, right? That's my problem. Going back to like the God claim and the Jesus claim and all that, just God. If you're really that cool and you're really that smart and you know all this shit and you're the alpha, the omega, the beginning and the end, you know all things. Just make it as simple for the dumbasses like me. Make it as simple as knowing I'm brushing my goddamn teeth. Like that's all I need. But before we keep going, we want to welcome Bree in the house.
Bree.
Hi, Bree.
Hello. Good to see everybody. Can we get back to the glory hole? I think that was the going to the conversation. We need to.
Oh man.
So Bree, philosophically speaking, when one is to construct a glory hole, you want to I don't even know where to go from there.
Real men don't construct a glory hole; they make one. That's what they do. The real men make a glory hole.
Punch right through, right?
No, not with the hand. They make one, you know.
Oh, the hand was symbolic.
Were you attempting to philosophize a glory hole?
I was about to.
But
And
honestly,
I was like,
Oz, if you want tomorrow, though, I could actually have, I believe, an interesting conversation about Descartes' conjecture. I think, therefore, I am with Gur. If you're actually interested in that, there are a lot of like that phraseology has the illusion of a precision and a specificity that really, if you study symbolic logic, does not exist. You can rip it apart very easily.
Gur, are you free tomorrow evening?
Actually, yes, I am.
Oh man, fuck yes, let's do this. So it's gonna be
and it will really illustrate, I think, the difference between. I mean, I don't know if we'll lose everybody if we go into real symbolic logic, but I'll keep it accessible. But I think what we can illustrate is you kind of pull, I don't know, the blinders off or something, and you kind of. I hope that the conversation can motivate questions and show perhaps the depth that is often not, that we don't realize is there. Sometimes we just don't realize we swim in the deep sea, you know.
I'm
all
positive I'll be available tomorrow.
We're gonna do it.
Is this like a brain in a vat kind of conversation that we're going down here?
I don't know. All I know is tomorrow night. This is all I know right now. This is all that matters to me now at this point. Is we're gonna have Gur and Chris Faron. I'm gonna eat like a 20 bag of shrooms, and I'm going to trip balls. I hear about I think there 4 a.m., which sounds amazing to me. That sounds so fucking amazing.
Because the superficial logic seems pretty sound, right? For the thinking thing to exist, and for it to be thinking, it must exist for it to think. That's the argument, and it sounds, when you think about it, like how could that be wrong, as Descartes thought? That's where you have to get into symbolic logic and really vet it, basically, under some really rigorous analysis.
Are you saying I'm just thinking that I'm thinking? Is that what you
No,
think?
we'll get to it. We'll get to it. You know? We'll get into it.
I think because I'm not a
It's not that
philosopher by any
simple,
stretch of the imagination, but I think the person that would actually ask better questions than me would be Danny if he's available, because he's the philosophy whiz that I've met.
Did you know Danny? I saw you smile.
Actually, you guys already lost because Jena said she had a surprise date night for me tomorrow night, so you're fucked.
Boo!
Okay, you said it though. I guess the surprise would be when you discovered it, right?
How did we come to know these things, Christopher? How did we come to know?
Fun stuff.
But
when
what's
you
up?
say no, do you mean in a biblical sense, or
is that theological, or is that
epistemological?
I just lost the word. God damn it. Are we talking theology or doctrine?
I think those two can kind of. Well, I think you need theology to have.
No. Gur, God damn it! Now we're going to go 2 goddamn hours.
But in order to have a doctrine, I think you need theology. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh no, you don't get to say it doesn't matter. You're the same person that says no. Jesus exists, guys. Go ahead and believe in this magical figure.
I do have a question because I don't want to keep my significant other up. We have like a studio, and I'm in the other room. She wants to go to sleep, so I'm going to bail. But I do have a question, Oz. Will you be on tomorrow at a similar time?
Here's the thing, and I'm going to use my skepticism here. I don't know if Jena actually had a date night planned tomorrow night. If she's just joking and playing around, then yes, I will be on at a similar time. If not, y'all won't see my ass. Be it so.
Then what say we tentatively? I'll send you a message on Facebook because I have you as a friend, and if it on sometime midday, if it is determined that is actually something, we can reschedule, because I start teaching in August again, so I have July off, so I'm free. Yeah, so if on the morrow, however, that's not the case, then we can just have a discussion.
Yeah, I will check with the Queen and see what she actually had in order, if she's just joking, then yeah, but about the same time, like 10:30 Eastern time, something like that.
I mean, you could also appeal to my charm and just tell her you couldn't resist, and we could try to argue a bromance.
No, she's
on the romance and introduce some competition. We could do that. That'd be pretty
things up
interesting.
a little bit.
Stop it. She's way hotter than you. Get the fuck out.
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you, she's way hotter than you.
Oh, and she just said, I'm not joking. I don't joke about date night.
Yep, here we go.
All right. Well, in that case, we can reschedule for another time, but I've enjoyed the conversation. And at this point, I'll take my leave, but I've enjoyed conversing with you and the chat. And I thank you for your time and attention and for hosting me.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Christopher. But I will make sure that next time I'm prepared for this conversation.
A lot of Red Bull.
Be it so. All right. Take care.
Bye. All right.
What's up, Bree?
Oh, I just wanted to come in here and tease you about this this
Glory
philosophy stuff. Yeah, that was monstrous. It was going way over my head too, so don't even worry about it.
Same here, right over my head.
I told him when he started, like literally, this shit is it's not even gonna be like a shotgun. It's gonna be a fucking machine gun, like a
bazooka.
all like every shot over my head. It's you're gonna be so far over my head. You're not even gonna kill me. You're not even gonna hurt me. It's gonna be.
I'm just gonna sit there like this.
I mean that dude is super smart. Like,
I don't.
Wow.
Like in real talk, like I mad love, mad respect, because when I hear people like him talk, I'm like, where do you store all of that information? Where do you put it? Where does it go?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have a hard time functioning being that smart. I think how much thought. I mean, think about it, how much that dude thinks about every decision and every step of his. Yeah. Wow.
Like he would say 10 words, and after 3 words, I'm like, wait, what does he mean by that? And it's like 10 words later, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's still talking. I'm sorry, slow down. And it's not a knock against him; it's a knock against me, because I'm like, God damn, like you said a lot.
Then it's a further knock against me, because a half a word came out of his mouth, and I'm like, huh? Huh?
Well,
You said. And again, I'm not talking shit. Like mad.
Oh yeah, no.
I do not have that capability whatsoever.
I do wish I had been able to pop in and get to talk to him and converse with him a little bit more. I think I had some questions that might have steered. I don't understand the best, but I am good at like picking apart what someone's saying. So trying to get it translated for me. I know he said that he can't put it in English because it's so complex, but I have a pretty good I'm pretty good at conceptualizing if I can ask questions. So maybe I could have represented the argument. I don't know.
Well, and I think that would be, now that you said that, Bree, I'm glad you said that. And next time I talk to him, I'm going to bring that up, because he did say that a couple of times. If you can't break it down to me in the language that we share, that we communicate in every single day, if you can't break it down to me in the English language, what good is it to me?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How is it applicable in reality? I'm not talking about philosophy.
I do want to say that you speak more math than you think you do, Oz. I mean, just you do, because you've went through you understand mathematics, the fundamentals of mathematics. So no, you speak
money.
You speak math.
Speak that money. Speak that money, honey.
So don't sell yourself short. You and everybody thinks about that when you talk about different languages. Oh, I speak this language. There's the language of mathematics too that we all share.
So help me out. What does that mean when people say I speak the language of mathematics? What I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
That means that universally, no matter what we're writing in, what we're speaking in, I can relate to you the way that sums. I say sums. It could be any factor, but the way that they interact with each other, no matter what's like we could use symbols to represent the different numbers, and you could figure out, like, that's the basics of algebra, right? That using symbols instead of the numbers to present mathematics. That we can do that capability is there, and you do speak that language to some extent, even if you never got past like basic mathematics. I'm not saying that you did. I don't know, but yeah, I haven't taken the advanced mathematics besides statistic classes because those are the easy ones.
So if some of it is based on symbolism, if that's what I'm hearing, then I would say yes, that's probably correct. But here's where my brain gets fucked, and this is why I don't do algebra and all this shit in philosophy where it's like P plus Q equals fucking R minus Z plus abracadabra and poof, God exists, right? I don't like, don't start throwing numbers and letters together. Like, don't do that to me. That fucks my brain up, because I do enjoy English and writing and poetry and writing music and all that. So I love English and I love writing. But as soon as you start putting fucking numbers in with my English,
That's like, where I lose it.
What the fuck are we doing right now? Right. But then if you just give me symbols that have nothing to do with the letters or the numbers, and you say, this and this and this equal, $1,000, and this and this and this equal $10,000. Oh, now I'm on it.
Right. Yeah. So you got to think of what I do. What helps me is I think of the letters as representative of something. Like A would be like apples or something, just hypothetically apples, and the amount would be how much they cost. So just something like that, like to give it a sum of some kind. But yeah, math is not my strong point at all. I took statistic classes for a reason. I like statistics though. That's like what you're saying. It's more, I can relate it to real world things because it's statistics. It is, you are looking at real numbers that represent something in the real world.
Yep. And you know what, Shane Bilowitz, hold on, let me find this is a good point, because now that he says this, and I'm thinking about this is the way my brain operates. It is because I think a large portion of it is my bipolar diagnosis, where it's black and white. It is it's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, and it's all number driven, right? It's all a cadence. It's all value driven, and that's. Thank you, Shane. No, that actually helps me, because I even though you saying that now, I can acknowledge that I would have never put 2 and 2 together. No.
Yeah, that's a good example of how I was saying that we all speak the language of math, because you can lay that over music and it makes sense, and you can understand it. It's just, I mean, you have obviously years of experience listening to rhythms and patterns and things like that. Patterns, and like I think he went on to say something about frequencies there.
Oh, frequencies. Yep.
Yeah, he said it's all about frequencies and the relationships between them. He qualifies it by saying his mom was a 6th grade teacher, so I'm assuming that was part of the curriculum that she liked to teach, because she taught math. Okay, that makes sense.
There's a good question here that I want to make sure that I hit. When you get manic, Oz, when you get manic, does picking up an instrument help you? I don't. In my apartment, I don't have like any like quote unquote live instruments. Mine are digital. But like today, Jenna will tell you, I felt like the manic or the mania going on, because this is as far as the anniversary of losing my mom. Like this is the week. Bree out here flossing.
She's flexing.
But this week is the official, like, 1 year, like I said goodbye, right? And today, well, I still haven't slept. It's been 48 hours now, I I'm doing all of the things that my therapist has, helped me with, informed me with, trained me to do, and I've been doing a great job doing it, and staying active with the community so that I don't go reclusive or or anything like that. But just excuse me, just today, within all of that, I wrote three different songs, like brand new tracks. And for those who don't know, I'm actually working on a mixtape that I'm going to release on September 19th, my birthday. But that is my part of my therapy, is that's how I communicate and how I release and how I get some of that shit off, off my chest or off my shoulders. And yeah. So do I pick up an instrument, to answer your question? Not an instrument, but I grab a beat and I grab a microphone and I tell the world exactly how the fuck I feel, whether they want to hear it or not.
Yeah, so you do music. It's just more electronical versus strings, basically. Yeah. Essentially.
Well, and I'm a drummer.
Oh, no shit! I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm a drummer, so I don't get me wrong. I would love to have a drum kit where I could just fucking beat the shit out of them drums. I would love that shit. But I'm not gonna lie, man. When for me anyway, I'm not saying this for everybody, but for me, like today, I was sitting here in the apartment and I sat down and there was one particular beat that I already had kind of an idea of what I wanted to do with it. And this melody and this hook started playing in my head, and I played the beat and I started recording it, and I'm like, this shit, whether anybody else likes it or not, this is for me. This is for me. Mm-hmm. This is for me. And it literally took me from like the edge of that manic Urbania to I was in the greatest fucking the mood. Like I was so fucking happy, and because I felt like I went head to head and I conquered that shit, right? I fought it, I battled it, and I won, right? And that meant so much to me. So for those that whether you play an instrument or you're a writer, like plug into that shit, man. So many times that can be that one release that you need to be like, no, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
No, I agree with you. I'm not good by any stretch of the imagination, but I play music, especially when you go through the motions. It's a good outlet. Because like you said, you're not doing it for anybody else, you're doing it for yourself. It's just a good outlet, and it kind of keeps you dare I say on the straight and narrow, so to speak. But Oz, I do have to bounce. I do appreciate you letting me on, and Bree, it's always fun talking to you. It's always a pleasure. And it was nice meeting the Christopher. Dude, is hella smart. But I'll see you all around.
All right, grrr.
See y'all.
All right, gravy train rolling out. Oh.
All right, so if y'all want to hear, I'll show the I'll play it and then we can wrap it up. Bree, everybody in the chat, do you want to hear the shit I wrote about my mom today?
Yes, please.
Uno momento. I gotta hook it up to my Roadcaster. And this is not like I'm still like not even halfway through mixing or mastering it. So,
well, I'm just glad you got something.
This is what we would call the scratch track, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I've been up for a while. Got circles under my eyes. Everybody gets to see me without makeup tonight.
Me too.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I don't want to embarrass you.
You gotta wait till backstage. Like, hey, you gotta wear makeup.
Yeah, you're a little shiny.
All right, let's see if this shit plays.
Your audio is freaking sweet tonight, by the way. I just want to let you know.
Oh, thank you. That's great to hear because I was struggling a few nights ago with the audio. Yeah, let's see how this sounds.
Let's do it.
Maybe nope. You don't want to play. Oh.
1 year ago today.
Oh, there it go. There it go. Turn that down a little bit.
It was 1 year ago today. It was the last time I got to see your face and tell you that I love you. Shit still fucks with my head.
Are you still hearing it? Oz? I can't. You're muted.
I have a better solution for this because you can kind of follow along with the lyrics a little better because, again, I haven't like truly mixed or even started to master any of this. So you at least follow along with some of the visuals.
So the audio cut out there after the speaking part about missing. I don't know if it.
Yeah, I cut it off because I'm gonna play. I'm actually. Gonna
you want to play different? Okay. I'll come back around. Okay.
Yeah, that way you can at least follow along with that because some of you be like, oh, now I see what he's talking about. Because some of it's still hard to interpret because I haven't mastered it. I haven't really mixed it yet, but
tell you that I love.
Come on, Twitter, work with me. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
It was the last time I got to see your face and tell you that I love you. Shit still fucks with my head. I'm sorry, mama, for all the drama that I caused you. I'm sorry, mama, for all the drama that I caused you. I'm sorry, mama, for all the drama that I caused you. I'm sorry, mama. I'm sorry, mama. Listen, it's tatted on my arm straight up. I'm sorry, mom. For everything I've done, I meant no harm. But now when I flip the book back and look back, all these flashbacks, no wonder your boys a demoniac, insomniac, monomaniac with the knack for cracking a panic attack. This abusing that you're accusing, guess what? You're included. All those nights left alone, a victim in my own home. Wherever you at church, talking to your fucking microphone. I'm sorry, mama, for all the drama that I caused you. I'm sorry, mama, for all the drama that I caused you. I'm sorry, mama, for all the drama that I caused you. I'm sorry, mama. I'm sorry, mama. Now, let's attack and get at them facts. You's a dipsomaniac. Your life was hard, I get your point of attack. The problem be your family. Wants to hide behind the pride and set aside. You committed motherfucking suicide. I'm not even mad at you. After you, I feel the same way when I've had a few.
That was great. No, that's great. You get that's the master right there.
Yeah. Oh no, that I haven't even started to mix it yet. That's why it'll sound way better in probably about a week. As far as being able to decipher the lyrics, like that last verse, you can't hear almost anything that I'm saying, but it goes from the first verse, my childhood, and the fact that my mom knew the shit that was going on at home, you know, the abuse from my father, and her escape, and essentially the core of my PTSD is from the abandonment. And abandonment doesn't always mean they just disappear. They disappear and they're not there, they're not relevant, they're not active when you need them the most as a parent or a parental unit. And she would go to church, and that's where and I remember even recording it. It was like, now I'm a victim in my home. I'm a victim in my own home. And where were you? You were at church just talking to your microphone. And that's where you hear the microphone reverberate when I say that word, because it was like this was more important to you. You were a praise and worship pastor. This was more important to you than I was. You having this voice and this thing was more important. And then in the second verse, it goes into my biggest struggle with my family is that my mom committed suicide. She took her own life, and they choose their own pride. They choose their own pride, and why I think that it's very close to the words I even used in the verse. They use their own pride to hide the fact that you committed motherfucking suicide, because they don't want that to be a bad light or a bad look for them, right? Because you were a Christian, you were a praise and worship pastor, you were blah, 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 blah. And then I took a very simple approach to it. As soon as I said that, I was like, but you know what? I ain't even mad at you. I ain't even mad at you. You did what you had to do. And there's some nights I'm right there with you after I had a few. And
there's, when it comes to parenting, there's no, there may be some guidance, but there's no book on how to deal with kids. Our parents, I don't know about your parents. My parents they would probably be considered abusive by today's standards, but I don't even think they knew they were abusive. You know what I mean? At the time that they were doing it, it was almost like it was unacceptable not to like spank your kids or whip them with a belt when they're acting up. So I don't know what level of abuse you were dealing with at home with your dad. I think I've heard you talk about some of it in the past. I don't want to dredge it all up or anything, but I can relate to some of that, at least some of the trauma that gets attached to that, mostly because of some of the things that were pushed back against for me are things that made the rest of my life harder, that would not have had I been able to be accepted back then, instead of having things been redirected and being, well, what we'd say now is abused. And that goes with, my parents weren't religious, but I can kind of see where you're coming from with losing a parent to something like that. My dad was an alcoholic, but so sometimes I think that, no, I'm not going to make excuses for him. It's going to sound like I'm making excuses for him, but
I understand.
It gets passed down. It gets passed down generational, and we have to be the ones to stop that. We have to be the ones to break that cycle.
Well, and I think that's where, Bree, all of us, we have to be very cognizant and very careful there, because we're so quick to, well, I'll use this analogy or parallel. We're so quick to go after the Christian and say, well, no, slavery is slavery, and it's wrong no matter the context, no matter the time frame, right? And that's true. We like, that's fucked up. That's true no matter what. Child abuse is child abuse, no matter the generation, no matter the day, the year, the time, the marker, whatever. It's still fucking wrong. It's still wrong. And I will always push back on that, because of what my parents did, especially when they were still married, the always going to that scripture, spare the rod, spoil a child. They literally used the Bible as an excuse or a prop to justify them beating the shit out of me.
Right. It, like you said, it was wrong then. It's wrong now. Yeah, we've come a long way with what we know from the psychology, but doesn't mean it wasn't wrong before. That means that now we know that it doesn't work as well. So it's just the only person that is doing anything for is the person who's frustrated with the child getting their anger out in some way. I almost said Jesus Christ.
but I would even argue that, and maybe this would be anecdotal, but an anecdotal argument. But I don't know anyone that grew up and had to deal with or trudge through what I did. As far as that hard line, like, it's this way, and if you don't do it my way, it's the highway or you get your ass beat, right? I don't know anyone, including me. I don't know any of my friends that grew up in similar settings that any of them did not rebel, because that's not teaching.
It's funny that you mentioned that about using the Bible verses. I don't mean funny in a literal sense. It's ironic, I guess, would be the way that the New Testament in and of itself is basically a child abuse story, right? He sent his kid down here basically to be abused and tortured. The father sent the son to be abused and tortured as corporal punishment for what everybody did, for what we all did. Like an angry father with a belt in his hand, whipping that child, and it's set in a positive light. We're supposed to see the child is a positive figure. This is a child, and I say child. I know he was an adult, but for all causes and purposes, he was the son, even if in the narrative he's the son. So we're supposed to see the child getting beat and say this is a child that's that's expressing positive characteristic by taking their lashes.
And if you want to go even deeper and really put on display how sadistic and disgusting this Yahweh motherfucker is, before Jesus is ever even introduced into the narrative, he played this like cat and mouse game with Abraham and Isaac. He tried to do the same shit I don't know if he's masturbating to this shit. I don't know if this is a psychological game to him or what, but he did the same shit with Abraham and Isaac, where it's, Abraham, if you really love me, think about this. I'm an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God. Like I can do no wrong. I'm the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the goddamn end. And I knew you before you formed me in my mother's womb. Blah 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 blah. Now, obviously, I don't believe any of that shit, but I believe Yahweh and Jesus are all bullshit. Yes, thank you, Shane. And I'm not conceding. I'm saying if it were to be true, it's not true. It's bullshit.
Within the context of the narrative.
Yeah, using it as a narrative. This Yahweh God, before Jesus even showed up on the block, he already tested the waters, right? And he was already sadistic enough, sick enough, narcissistic enough to say, hey, Abraham, if you love me and you worship me and you're loyal to me, you will take your son up to this hilltop, mountaintop, what the fuck ever it was, and you'll kill him. You'll kill him for me. For me. You will kill him for me. Mm-hmm. And I even go as far as to say this. This has there's no evidence for this. This is just me talking shit. I think that Abraham was Yahweh's test, like his internal test. If Abraham has the balls to do it, later on I have to have the balls to do it.
So like a prequel to Jesus. Yeah, I'm talking about the passion out there. Exactly. That's Yahweh punishing his child for what we all did, which was, I think it started with some chick taking a bite of an apple, and then from expanding from there. And then Jesus is like, you know what, or Yahweh, I should say Yahweh. Is there anywhere in the text that it says that Jesus knew he was going to be sacrificed, or was this Yahweh saying, yeah, go on down there and preach to the people down there, they're gonna, and tell them you're my kid? And then Jesus is like, okay, Dad, I'll go down there and do that. And all the while Yahweh's like, yeah, they're going to torture and kill you, and it will take away everybody's sins. That's the plan. Is there a verse that resolves that?
Not that I'm aware of, and I am open and willing to be proven wrong, but I do not recall any. And if there's any part of the Bible that I did study and like took classes on, it was that part of the Bible, the Pauline, the Pauline writings and the resurrection and blah blah blah. I don't remember any text that said that Yahweh or Father Daddy God forewarned him, like, look, bro, when you go in here, here's your prescription. Here's your prescription. You're going to go in here and do the damn thing. You're going to rub the mud on the people's eyes. You're going to turn water into wine. You're going to walk on water. You're going to do this shit. And ultimately, you're going to suffer the most brutal death in history. Just so you know.
So he could be.
I don't recall anything like that.
Certainly didn't give him any painkillers, because he call out and say, hey, yeah, you've forsaken me. So I think he didn't know. I think that if anything confirms it, that line right there confirms it, right? Jesus' last words indicates that he didn't know what Yahweh's intentions were for him. But Yahweh had to have a plan, because it was set in motion that this would absolve the sin, right?
Well, but before he even goes to the cross, when he's in the garden praying, before he gets taken off to
Calvary.
No, it'll come back to me. But he's in the garden and he's praying to Daddy, and he said, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. But if not my will, but your will be done. What? I thought you two were the same motherfuckers.
Yeah, they have a split mind, I guess.
Here, I'm tripping about being diagnosed with like bipolar and like the rap sheet that I have. But this motherfucker, he does have like one, just two. He's now got like 3 different personalities that he's operating under, and none of them know how one ties to the other.
One of them doesn't have any personality at all. The Holy Ghost has no personality. It's nothing. It's like it's like his Hadouken that he shoots out. That's all the Holy Ghost is.
Get over here. Finish him. Yeah, and that's where. Oh man, yeah. That. Most of the times when I get with theists, anyway, I get that's like a 2-hour conversation where it's like, no, you don't understand. That's why free will is bullshit, guys. That's why free will, because you can trace it all back to the garden, and I'm not a philosophy guy, but I do. I do believe the Stanford, I call it the Bible, the Stanford Bible of philosophy, the dictionary, absolutely pinpoints and hammers down the definition, philosophically speaking, for free will, and that is the ability to make a decision or make a choice without the influence of an outside from an outside agent. So if that's the case, then we've already conquered the Bible, because whether it's the Old Testament or even the New Testament, the way it shapes out and the way it all formulates is it's no longer free will according to Yahweh. That is an ultimatum. It's either you serve me because I offer you eternal bliss and heaven and joy and blah 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 blah, blah, or you go to hell and you burn and fuck you. That's an ultimatum. That is not free will, because free will would be, Bree, you and I can decide to do whatever the fuck we want to do, and neither of those we could decide that neither of those are an option for us.
Yeah. Is he a warden? Is he inflicting our fate, or are we choosing it? Because if there's only 2 outcomes, right? We only got the 2 choices. You're either gonna paradise or lake of fire. Well, lake of fire, I know that depending on which version of the Bible you go by, it may or may not even exist. I know there are annihilationists, but at least annihilationism doesn't force you to submit to consequences of an entity that you aren't. I don't feel I owe them anything. So annihilate me if that's your will, but I resist you.
Yeah, and that's what I always get a chuckle when I hear what I call the cradle atheist. That they've never been introduced to, for the most part, never been introduced to or indoctrinated into a religion or a bad idea or a bad belief when it comes to these mythological characters, and they're like, hold the fuck on, who the fuck are you? Telling me I'm gonna go to a place for a time. I don't even know who the fuck you is. I don't even know who the fuck you is. But I love that approach, and that's actually what helped me was meeting more quote unquote cradle atheists. We're like, what are you talking about, bro? That's a comic book, bro. Like that's some comic book shit. Like, what the fuck are you talking? That shit ain't real, And it was, that and it's a process, but the whether you want to call it satire or comedy, or even some of the deprecation or even self-deprecation, where it's I'm willing to say I was pretty stupid when I believed that.
In the Old Testament, that's poetry. It's a poetic narrative.
It's poetry and allegory all day, every day. What? What? No, motherfuckers still believe that Noah and Moses existed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that there was a talking snake and that angels came down and there were people that wanted to gang rape some angels and all this kind of stuff like that.
The one for me, and I'm sure it's different for each person. I'll say this. I'll share what I think is the most outlandish story in the Old Testament, and then you share whatever you think yours is, and then I'm gonna wrap this up because I do have to work. I actually do have to work and make some money tomorrow. But so I'll share mine. You can share yours, and we'll wrap it up. But this one to me blows my mind, and it's probably one of the more simple ones. But because it's the most simple to understand how fucking outlandish this shit is. We got Meshach, Radshach, and Abednego. And these bros are going to go up in an oven. They're going to go up in a fiery furnace. Like they go into a pizza oven. Right? They about to get cooked like a pepperoni pizza. No. Nope. They walk out of that. They walk out of that shit. Breathe. No scars, no burns, no hint of heat being around them, and it's sugar behind passing the double by. Yes, Aunt Radshach, Ladshach, Dad, whatever. It's late. It's late.
Radshach,
Adashach, Matashach, Didashach, Needashach, Getashach, Renashach, Radio Shack, Bioshack, whatever. But literally they come out and like there's no flaws, there's no blemishes, there's no red marks from maybe a little bit of a burn, there's no singeing of the hairs on your arms or your head, fucking, in other places. Nothing. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
How about you, Bree? What do you think in the Old Testament? The most outlandish.
Okay. This is going to be, well, maybe this, I've said this would be an unpopular opinion, but there's no real Christians here. So my opinion is that the entire narrative of the life of King David is proof against a freaking loving God. Because if David personifies a righteous man that deserves to have his lineage inherit the land of Canaan for all time, which is the main selling point, what the Old Testament's all about is establishing rights to the land of Canaan. So if a person like King David has that divine right, then I don't think that God is righteous, because King David is a piece of shit. There's nothing in that book that he does good. He's not a good person at all. He kills someone and rapes his wife. He's just a very gross individual. And if that's a righteous man, then I don't think we live in a righteous world.
And if I remember right, the book of, well, as the unlearned Christians would say, the book of Psalms, plural, Psalms, that David had a heart after God.
Right. Rape and pillage. That's what David does the whole time. Anytime he stops doing that, Yahweh punishes him. Anytime the Israelites stop, and that goes to his descendants too, because everybody from there has their divine right handed down from being the heir of King David, all the way down to Christ himself, right?
Yeah.
So they want to inherit those qualities, the qualities of David.
And what wasn't? And I may be thinking of a different Bible character, because there's a lot of them that are popular for this. Was it Mr. King David, Mr. David? Wasn't he pretty notorious for like being a womanizer?
Yeah, he's the Bathsheba. The song that Hallelujah song. That's what that's about. Is him.
Oh yeah. Yep. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Where he goes and just takes her. That's what's his name? Uriah the Hittite's wife, and then he goes and he has Uriah killed. So, and takes her like it is his concubine or spouse or whatever for the rest of her days. But she's essentially at that point a sex slave. Not to say that she wasn't a sex slave to Uriah. I don't know. It doesn't go into that details, but we know that David at least kept her as a sex slave and that she did bear children to him because Solomon is the son of Bathsheba. And if anybody out there knows their Bible better than me, correct me, but it was the son of David and Bathsheba that Solomon was, right?
I believe.
Cat.
Yeah. At this point, 48 hours of not sleeping, I could be well.
All right, we need to end this. Oz needs to get some sleep, guys.
Oh, but hold on, because hold on, where you go? Polygamy is natural, sir. So, oh yeah, I did say polygamy. I didn't mean polygamy. I meant the other word that means dudes are fucking douchebags and fucking treat women like shit for no good goddamn reason.
Misogyny.
Thank you. That's what happens when you don't sleep for 40 hours. You mix all the words up. So thank you for the correction. You were right. I am wrong. But you know what the fuck I meant.
Yeah. Poly is natural.
Dude, do your damn thing.
I agree with you. Everybody should be able to do their own thing with the consenting adults and have fun.
Atheist, live, sex, fuck, invest, do business, whatever the fuck you want. Just take care of people.
Live that best life.
Get it. But Bree, thanks for jumping. Do you have anything coming up you want to plug before we go?
I have my show tomorrow, or I guess in about 7 hours. I still need to do my setup for that, so I'm going to do that after I leave here. But you should see it popping up in your feed 9:30 a.m. So see you there.
Whoo, 9:30. Yeah,
you won't be there, Oz.
I'm 9-night.
Mm-hmm.
9-night. But thanks for jumping on, Bree, and the others jumped on earlier. Thank you, everybody that's been in the chat supporting on a 3-hour stream. We don't do this very often. Here, 3-hour stream, still 22 people plugging away. We appreciate it. But all day, every day, it's Tang Gang.
Yeah. This is for all you non-philosophizing black sheep, unwelcome, pushed to the side motherfuckers like me.
Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Let's get down to business. These bitches got glitches. And you thought you'd dismiss us? Nah. Now I'm laughing in stitches. See, the problem be, it'll be a tragic travesty to come after me. So just know this is how we get down. Respect that shit like a pronoun, bitch. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. And fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way.